Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for another podcast episode. I'm excited. I got one of my good friends with us on today. I am really excited. She's going to be talking to us about something that is very, very important. A lot of people are dealing with anxiety. They're dealing with, and don't realize they're dealing with anxiety, for one. And then the panic disorder piece with it. People don't know what's going on in their bodies. They just know something is going on and they don't know what to do with it, how to deal with it. And then even those who have been diagnosed with it still don't know how to deal with it. And so we're going to talk to Jackie today, and I'm going to get her to introduce herself. And as you can see, Jackie, please tell the people who you are and all about you. And then we're going to get into how you found out that you had panic disorder.
Okay, well, I'm Jacequelin Thomas. I am a published author, have been published for about 25 years. And so I am a grandmother, a mother, and a wife. So just normal girl,
Yeah.
girl. Um, I was diagnosed with panic disorder about 27 years ago. I I was actually leaving the movies. My husband and I and the kids, I was pregnant with my son, and we were leaving the movie theater. And all of a sudden, I just felt like I couldn't breathe. It just came out of the blue. And I didn't know what was going on, but I just could not breathe. My husband, I remember, you know, he tried to reach for my hand. I didn't want to be touched. And I hate to say freaked out, but that's the only way I can describe it. I think I
Yeah.
was hyperventilating. And so at that point, that night I couldn't sleep and it came on me again. And I didn't know what was going on. So finally I talked with my doctor and she called it, she said, "Oh, you were suffering from air hunger." And I'm thinking, what in the world is air hunger?
What is
And
air hunger?
well, basically, I couldn't breathe. And so, but she said she wanted me to understand. And what I had to tell myself was, you can breathe. You can breathe. You're not, your body won't just let you stop breathing.
Right.
So it was basically panic disorder, but I don't think she really wanted to use those words.
Mm-hmm.
She really tried to minimalize it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked, do pregnant women go through this? Because I actually thought it was a symptom of my pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the duration of that pregnancy, I was on bed rest. So it was just a very stressful period. And that's what she was saying. I had a high risk pregnancy. It was a pregnancy that we did not expect. I was told we would not be able to have any children.
Mm.
And then, of course, I found myself pregnant. And so, and at the, I guess I think I was about 4 months pregnant when I went into labor. So at that point, we were doing everything we can to minimize the risk and early labor. So it was a very stressful time. And so basically what she was saying, it was that induced the air hunger.
Okay.
I was just really stressed and I was concerned about whether or not I was going to be able to carry the baby to term.
Mm.
So it made sense to me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, after I had the baby, the attacks did not stop.
Mm.
So I wasn't pregnant anymore, but it did not stop.
So how,
So,
how soon did you get another one after you had your baby?
I can't really remember. I think it was some time. I think it was some time because after I had my baby, I had written my first book. I had attended my first writers conference and everything was fine. I sold that first book and I became a published author. So it was actually a great time in my life.
Mhm.
you know the baby, he was thriving. He was born early, but he was thriving. When he was 6 months old, my grandmother had a stroke,
Mm.
so we had to bring her in to live with us. I think it was during that time I had my second one.
Mhm.
So there again, I was in a high stressful situation, and so I just thought it was stress induced, which panic attacks can be stress induced. you know
Mhm.
um it can also be part of genetics. you know um when they didn't stop moving forward, they didn't stop, they actually at times increased. I used to kind of keep a panic journal. to kind of figure out what my triggers were and what was bringing this on. And at this point, I had gone back to school to get a degree in psychology because I wanted to know what was going on with my body. And I wanted to know exactly what was panic attacks, what they were, how they differed from anxiety attacks, and what I could do to fight it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I learned over the years is that I believe mine, and I used to think mine was the root cause of learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I thought because my grandmother was a chronic worrier, and she always went to the worst case scenario. She never let me learn to swim because she thought I would drown. She never let me ride a bike because she thought I would get hit by a car. So she either didn't have a whole lot of faith in me, but she taught me to fear those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm thinking, if it's really that bad, like I couldn't even spend the night with a girlfriend because she thought I might get molested or something like that.
Wow.
So and there was trauma in her life that I felt was the reason that shaped her to be who she was. And so she in turn taught me to fear a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
and that fear, my inability to not control the narrative, I think, was the root of my panic disorder. It was my need to control the narrative. I'm a rape survivor. I was in college and I was raped. The trauma of that, a first marriage that was a bit abusive, that was trauma. So I think that my panic disorder was the result of all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when I look at my journal, when I was in high stress situations, when I couldn't control the narrative. So essentially, again, for me, panic disorder was the result of my need to control the narrative. And as you know, we can't control anything in life, that God has the ultimate control. So it was years before I really saw a doctor
Mm-hmm.
about the panic attacks. And in 2016, it got really bad. I had my children, husbands, children, grandchildren, they all lived with me. Grandchildren lived with me. There was like 12 people in my house.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of stress. And then I was working outside the home. I had taken a job that I loved, but it became toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So there was workplace bullying. There was a lot going on. So I went in my room one day and could not come out because my room was my sanctuary. It was my safe place. And I stayed in that room, literally that room, not the house, that room for almost a year.
Yeah, and that would, because we've known each other for quite some time, and
Yes,
so
yes,
I think that was the period where you weren't even answering your phone, really, were you?
right. I wasn't even answering the phone. I wasn't even, my publisher didn't know I had to cancel tours. I didn't tell anybody because I didn't know what to tell people.
Yeah.
And, the people that I did share that I had panic disorder, you got, oh, you'll be fine. Oh, just let it go. Just get over, you're worrying too much. No, it went deeper than that. It went deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
And but at that time you don't know what to do. So when I could not leave my home, and I'm like, Lord, life is passing me by. I can't live this way. And I knew that God had called me to write, but if I can't leave my home, yes, I could write. And I wasn't even writing at that time. I stopped writing
Mm-hmm.
because I was trying to live.
Yeah.
I thought it had to do with depression, but I wasn't really depressed. I just needed peace of mind. I wanted peace. And
Mm-hmm.
at that time, I don't think my relationship with God was where it probably should have been. Um, I I don't remember going to him.
Mm.
I had gone to him years before, and I felt like that's the one prayer. And I keep a prayer journal too. And God had answered all my prayers, but healing me from panic disorder was
Mm.
not an answered prayer. So I felt like, okay, he's not interested. I'm not going to talk to him. So anyway, my doctor put me on medication,
Mm-hmm.
but that still didn't help me really leave my room. It wasn't until I really started to talk to a therapist. And that was the thing, we had to do it virtual because I couldn't leave. But then one day I woke up mad. I was mad. And I'm like, I am not going to be a prisoner in my own house. I am not going to be a prisoner in my own house. And so I would walk to the door, I would open it, I'd step a foot out, you know, and I did that for about 3 days. Then I would step outside. I did that for about 3 days, and I would be like this, you know. Then I would, I could go into the living room and I would sit out there for about 10 minutes. That was probably as much as I could stand,
Mm-hmm.
you know. At that time, I went back to school to get a master's in psychology because, again, I was not going to let panic attack beat me.
Yeah.
So I did thesis on panic disorder. I wanted to know, and I wanted to know how to beat this.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to my therapist, but needless to say, I was able to, within 6 months, I was able to leave my house. I couldn't drive, but I could leave my house.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband and my son had to drive me everywhere. And then my son drives really fast. And I got to the point where I didn't want to ride with him. So, and my husband had to work. So I would drive around the corner, baby steps,
Mm-hmm.
baby steps. And I would be in there shaking, crying, praying, screaming sometimes. And I had a playlist that I called Common Music. And it was a lot of gospel. You know, that helped me through it. And so finally, one day I just told God, okay, I need you. I need you.
Mm-hmm.
Now I need you to help me with this because I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be on medicine forever. So I went kind of back and forth with God because I wanted him to I wanted to wake up one day and just be whole.
Yeah.
Then I realized sometimes, like with Paul, that thorn in his side, I thought maybe this is my thorn in my side. But then I told God, it can't be. It can't be because of what you called me to do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can say is panic disorder brought me closer to God.
Yeah.
It brought me closer to God. So finally, I guess it was this year, I woke up in January and it was a new year. And I'm like, some things have to change, Lord. Some things have to change. I have to change. So I took a shower and didn't have anything on. And I went in my bedroom and got, down and said, look, I am naked and unashamed.
Yeah.
I need you to show me what I need to do because
Yeah.
I cannot live this way.
Mm-hmm. That's powerful. I think that's powerful when you can get before God and do that.
But he showed me things that you don't want to see. I mean, when you ask him to reveal, he will reveal. There was roots of bitterness, unforgiveness. Sometimes we say we forgive and we haven't really fully forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to deal with all of that. And one of the things that came out of that, and I said, well, God, the one prayer you've never answered was about healing me of panic disorder. So I answered it a long time ago. You never walked in it.
Wow. Wow.
So I stopped the medication. I don't advise this for anybody, but for me, he put in my heart, stop it. And I went through some minor withdrawals because I've been on the medicine for years, since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And let me backtrack. 2019 was when my mother died. Then 8 months after that, my daughter died. So at that point, I was taking the Xanax every day, dealing with my daughter's death. So I noticed health-wise, I started to see some problematic areas. My liver levels were rising and things like that. And the thing about it is, I asked my doctor, is this going to hurt me?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, oh, we're just going to keep watch.
Yeah, that's always their answer.
Mhm. Well, I changed doctors because we moved to Charlotte. And that doctor said, you shouldn't be taking this every day. Now, at that point, I've been taking it almost 2 years, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wanted to get it out my system. So in January of this year, I stopped it cold turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave me what they call a maintenance drug. But at that point, I didn't trust any of them.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that drug either.
Mm-hmm.
So I never took it. And again, I don't recommend this for anybody. You know, is you should taper off.
Yeah.
But for me, I did what the Lord told me to do,
Mm-hmm.
and that was to stop it. And so it was a faith move for me. And in that, I can say to today, I've not had any panic attacks,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't had the need for the medicine.
And see, that's good because I remember when when you were telling me that you were going to come off of it, I was thinking because, we've talked about my daughter and about her because she has anxiety really bad. And she has a fear of driving. She has a fear of so many different things that's very irrational.
Yeah, irrational fears.
hmm But she herself would not take her medicine. They originally they gave her a controlled drug. And I said I didn't want her taking it. I would not allow her to take it. And then her doctor gave her herbal medicine. And I said, no, no, right, you can take this. This is herbal. And she said, no, I'm not taking it, and wouldn't take it. And so she's found you've given me different things to help her cope when she started, and she's incorporated some of those things, and so that has really helped her, and she hasn't had no need for the medicine.
Yeah.
So maybe you can share some of the things that you use to cope um, when you felt like your anxiety or you were getting ready to go into an attack.
Well, for me, um, I with a panic attack, it is when you're triggered, you start to feel like you can't breathe. You focus on, you know, I guess your trigger, whatever that trigger could be. It could be riding in an elevator, it could be riding across a bridge. I have never been afraid to ride across the bridge, but for a time I would have panic attacks going across a bridge. And that was not, I grew up on an island, so nothing but bridges.
Right.
Um, I I learned to meditate, and like I said, I have music. I still have my calming playlist, music that I listen to. I have scriptures that I have in my phone,
hmm
that I read if I start to feel anxious, scriptures about fear and how, you know, God is not the author of fear.
hmm
And what you have to tell yourself is that you are in control. And believe it or not, I learned a lot from you, from other pastors, that God has given us a gift that we can demand our peace, that we can in Jesus' name declare our
hmm
peace. And so that's what I do. I'm anxiety. I'm speaking to you.
hmm
Not have any place here in the name of Jesus. You have to flee.
hmm
And you have to say it with authority.
That's right.
You also have to focus on something like look in your house. For me, I have a degree in interior design. That's one of my other degrees. And one of the things that I learned was that there are different triggers for anxiety. Like you can see right back here, my house is it's not really what I would call cluttered. You
Not at all.
It's pretty, because I need to feel like I can breathe.
hmm
So I can't stand a lot of clutter around me. It's a little cluttered in that corner over there. I got to do something about that. But you know, what I learned was that a lot of times, if you have like people that love abstract art, if it's really, really busy, it can trigger anxiety.
Hmm.
So I have in my house, as you well know, a lot of calming pieces. The colors that I use are very calming.
Because it's very peaceful in your home.
Yes, you want to
Very
walk
peaceful.
in, and if you don't feel a peace in your home, then there you need to maybe look at what you can do to change that.
Hmm.
Because if nothing else, you should have peace in your home.
That's right.
I use very calm colors, blues, warm colors, oranges, things like that. So find out, look at your house and look, on your pictures. Are they landscapes? Are they, beach fronts? Like I love the beach, and so but in my home, in my living room downstairs, I have a lot of my granddaughter thought she's like, I can't believe you paid money for those when I could have painted those. They're like ink blocks.
Yeah.
And when you see a therapist or something, a lot of times they'll say, "What do you see?" They'll hold up this ink blot, and you've had those tests even on the computer and things like that. Jobs offer those tests. Like, what do you see when you look at this? Well, when you're in the midst of anxiety or feeling like you're going to have a panic attack, pull up one of those. Actually, have some on hand, like
Hmm.
those ink blots, and hold it up and look and try to see what you see. Because what happens is you're taking your mind off the attack,
Hmm.
and that helps to diminish it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not so focused, because what happens with panic disorder, your fight or flight kicks in.
Mm.
And so the first thing you want to do is just get off. Now, the other part of that too is having a strong support system, which is kind of hard because a lot of people who've never had a panic attack do not understand. They don't understand. And my husband did not understand. You know, he honestly didn't. It wasn't until he talked to my doctor. Well, it wasn't until I couldn't leave my room
Mhm.
that he really knew that, okay, something's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, he's very supportive, you know, um, but he had to learn. And so you have to kind of sit down and have that conversation with your loved one, with your family. This is what I go through. This is what I feel. This is what triggers me.
Yeah.
Because if they know the triggers, like for example, I don't like sitting in a lot of traffic. Now I'm better at it, but before I could just see the traffic backed up.
Mhm.
And remember, we come from LA.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
there's
kind of
nothing but traffic.
right. So to be here and to have, and the traffic here is nothing like LA.
Hmm.
So that's why I say it's irrational fears. So my husband, I start to fidget when, and so he will look for an exit and divert
Hmm.
because he knows it makes me uncomfortable.
That's good.
you know. And
Hmm.
sometimes he's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." And I keep in the car like a sleep mask.
Hmm.
And so sometimes I just put that on because when you're sitting there watching it, sometimes you can, just cover and you don't see it. You can actually regain control.
Oh yeah. Now
Because,
see,
yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Naraya, the music piece, I can tell when Naraya hers is starting to kick in because like you said, she starts getting she starts getting talkative and she starts getting really antsy. And then
Mhm.
she starts getting clingy. And then if it's something that if it's an event that I'm doing and she can't be clingy to me, she'll put she's got her playlist like you suggested, and so she'll put her earbuds in and she'll go to and she has to get to a corner and she'll calm herself down.
Yes, and so things like that. I keep wet naps. I keep some crackers or some candy, and I suggest like the sour. I don't do the sour patches or whatever they're called, but I do like the cinnamon. The old candy. I mean, the candy that back
Yeah,
when you're little, the older
grandma
people.
said.
Yeah, I get those from the dollar store, and I get the cinnamon ones because that will actually help bring me back, because you need that opportunity to just go back. A lot of times, a lot of therapists will talk about sensory. So you touch yourself, and you close your eyes, you touch yourself. And like right now, I'm rubbing on my hand and I'm focusing on what that feels like,
Hmm.
or my dress or whatever. So those are things that you can do. Another one is you can look around and say, okay, I see that car is purple. It is, this and that, because what happens, you're taking your mind off of the anxiety.
Hmm.
A lot of people with anxiety start to to rub them, like they'll rub, like they're trying to make themselves breathe. You have to stop them
Yeah.
because that can trigger the attack.
Oh, really?
Yes, because they're already preparing to defend themselves or fight against the attack.
Mm.
Another thing I read when I was studying, sometimes it is best to just relax your body, slow down your breathing, and breathe in and out, count to 4 each time, breathe in and out, and just kind of let it pass.
Okay.
A lot of people, what we do, we brace against it, we fight against it, and that makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
What I do now too is I go to a CBD store here and I get these gummies, but they don't have the what is it, the whatever is in marijuana.
TCH.
Yeah, it doesn't have that because I don't want any of that. I just want and it's for people with anxiety.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I can take one of them and get through the day.
Mm-hmm.
So if I start to feel anxious and I feel like it may go into something more, I can take one of those. But I bought a bag in January and I still have that bag.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Those things are really helpful. I think I had actually got, I don't know what I got. I think I got the wrong kind. We were at the beach and my children thought it was hilarious. So I went in for something for a headache and they gave me something and I was out of it.
Yeah, you got the wrong kind.
Yes. And I said, "Oh my, what in the world?" And they just thought that was hilarious. But
Yeah, you
yes,
have to
maybe
ask questions because I told him I didn't want anything,
it's gonna
like
get you
that. I
high.
just wanted, I just wanted something to just kind of relax me. And basically you just take one
Hmm.
and they tell you to carry another one with you just in case. But like I say, I bought a bag in January. I still have that same bag. And I may have taken maybe 3
Oh wow.
this whole time, you know. But that's better than the pills because, you know.
Yeah.
So I believe God has healed me. I'm walking in it. I do have on my computer and even on this one, I have it on my laptop. I have it on this one. Basically, my declaration, I walk in victory. I walk in healing. I
Hmm.
walk in deliverance.
Yeah.
And I say that, and if you can just divert your focus, meditate, be aware of your surroundings. And what I mean by that, like again, this chair, I can sit here and start feeling this chair, I can feel the desk, it's cool to the touch. And that will take your mind off of your attack.
Yeah.
What could be an attack?
Hmm.
Because a lot of times we have panic attacks because we're so in fear of having one. So we are so afraid of it, we trigger one.
Hmm.
And I was doing that for a while where I would dread going to bed at night. I think we talked about that. I dreaded going to bed at night. And it was particularly when my husband worked nights because I felt like I was going to have a panic attack and he wasn't going to be there. And even when he was, I wouldn't wake him. So um, I would be looking for this attack. And guess what?
It will come.
So now, before I go to bed, I thank God in advance for a sweet sleep.
Hmm.
When I wake up in the morning, I thank God for sweet sleep and for a great day. Today, I'm going to have a great day. I say that every morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I believe that a lot of times we have to proclaim, we have to declare, our healing. We have to walk in our healing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, and again, I thought that God wanted me to have this forever, you know, um, and I would have had to deal with it. That's why I was trying to find ways to cope with it and live with it,
Hmm.
not be afraid of it anymore.
Right, right. And I think that's really good because a lot of times people don't want to decree and declare because they are in the midst of it. But that's when you want to do it. You don't wait till you get out of a storm to declare
Mhm.
victory. You declare victory while you're going through the storm. And so that when
Exactly.
you get through the storm, you know that you know that you know that you are out of it, that what you went through will not happen to you again. And even if it does, you know how to speak yourself up out of it. So yeah, I think that's very, very important. but so many people lose hope in the midst of going through something because it's hard. It's like, well, how can
It
you
is.
see your way out? You don't feel like you're gonna come out, you know.
Right.
And you
And
and
COVID, and then top that with COVID, those
yeah.
other fears, you know, yeah, the last few years has been hard on everybody,
Hmm.
and people, I kind of hate to say, well, I liken this to, like, a winery.
Hmm.
When you go to a winery, you see the grapes, hanging. If you go over to Jerusalem or somewhere over there, you see where the grapes were low on the ground. But here in America, they're raised up high.
Hmm.
And the reason for that, is that the grapes have to be stressed.
Mm.
When they're low to the ground, they can be filled with water. And of course, they look pretty and they're plump, but they have no character. But
Mm.
they hang them high here because to stress them gives the grapes character.
Wow. Wow.
So that's what we're doing. COVID has stressed us,
Hmm.
and we're learning our character.
Mm. Is that not the truth?
What we're made of. We're learning what we're made of.
Mm.
And so COVID has been hard on me. I won't tell somebody it hasn't been. Um, I will say that there are moments when my anxiety is high.
Hmm.
I just try not to let it take control, because what happens with panic disorder, your panic, your anxiety is in overdrive.
Hmm.
So what you have to do is practice not letting it be in control. You have to be in control. You have to be in control. You have to bring it under submission.
Hmm.
Of course, you cannot do that without the Father, so, but, and again, it's practice makes perfect. I won't say, all I can say is I've not had a panic attack this year thus far.
Yeah. And
I'm not looking for it, but you know what I mean.
oh yeah, yeah. And it's just like you did it. It's like a discipline. It's a new discipline that you
Mhm.
have incorporated. And anytime you're undisciplined in an area, you find that that area is kind of out of order. And so you just disciplined yourself in that area, which is really, really good. I'm glad that you joined us today. I really, really, really am. I think because, like we were talking the other day, COVID has made people realize that they have panic disorder.
Mhm.
I mean, I have a friend that she had called me. She said, I just don't feel right. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know. And I mean, you could tell she was in overdrive. And I'm like, you have to calm yourself. You got to calm yourself, breathe in, breathe out. And her thoughts were so irrational. She was like, I just can't talk to you right now. I can't talk to you right now. Because she didn't want to hear what I had to say, but
She
it's
was
so
in
many
panic
people
mode.
like
She was in panic mode. And, I love what you have behind you. It is well with my soul, because that is what I said. It is well with my soul. And what I would encourage people to do is understand that God ultimately is in charge. COVID is not in charge.
that. Hmm.
It may look like it, but COVID is not in charge. You
Mm-mm.
know, you have got to find what makes it well with your soul. You can take all the precautions in the world.
Mhm.
I just had a booster done. That's the best I can do. It is well with my soul. I am doing what I can to be, as far as preventative care. So
Mhm.
I'm doing what I can do, and I'm trusting God to do the rest. And
Mhm.
so you've got to find what is well with your soul,
Mhm.
and know that God ultimately is still in charge. A lot of us have lost family members, including myself, to COVID.
Mhm.
But I remember when I was 18, I lost my sister to pneumonia.
Yeah.
And back then, that was the thing,
Mhm.
pneumonia.
Mhm.
There's always going to be something.
Mhm. Yeah.
We are not in control of that.
Mm-mm.
We just have to trust God is protecting us. And one of the I think I shared with you, we had an incident here at our house where somebody, you're safe at home, and even after everything that I've gone through, my I had a moment where someone shot a bullet. Now, I don't think they were shooting at my house,
Yeah.
but the bullet came through our fence, through our window,
Mm-hmm.
and could have hit the sofa. My father-in-law was sitting there at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing that bullet on the floor almost triggered me. But my devotion that morning, before that happened, started off with, God is the best security system in the world.
Wow. He prepared you. Wow.
See what I'm saying? So I went back to that. So instead of panicking, because I was home too, and you know, with irrational fears, you go to the worst case scenario, because my mind tried to take me there. Oh my God, what if he had been hit? What if I was down here? And you know, and oh, you can't let the grandkids play out there. I mean,
Oh,
it
yeah.
just, and I had to put it like, stop.
Mm-hmm.
I literally did that. I went, stop. And my husband was looking at me like, what? And I'm like, I just had to stop the thoughts. And that's what you have to do. Sometimes you have to just go, peace, be still,
Yes.
stop.
Mm-hmm.
We have that authority.
Mm-hmm. We do, and I mean that's really good. I can go into a whole. I remember when you talk about thoughts going on, and I can remember being a little girl, and that's when I first discovered the power of that God had given us from within. And there was something that had been said to me, and I kept replaying it over and over in my head. I couldn't even study in school, but I can remember knowing the Lord, and I said, Lord, mm-mm. I said, that is a lie. Stop. Just
Mhm.
like that, and those thoughts stop. And so you have to know that that these things are lies, and that you have the authority to cast those things down, because they have no right. They are illegal. They're living illegally in your mind, and
Exactly.
so you have that power. But I want you to do me a favor. You have a new book, and I want our viewers to get it. And you have a new one. I'm looking at the cover in the back. Your suspense novel is coming out as well. But the new book, tell everybody about that new book, and then your new suspense and where they can get it from,
Oh
please.
goodness. My new book, Her Marine Hero, is currently out. Just came out this month, I believe. Last month, just came out last month. Her Marine Hero, and it's actually about a woman who has panic disorder, and she's in love with a Marine who is special ops. So a lot of triggers there.
Yeah.
But I wrote about that because I wanted people to really understand how easily we can be triggered, and if we let those things, those thoughts get out of hand, what can happen. So even though it's a romance, I write what I call real life romance. And so this is a woman who suffers from panic disorder, and she struggles with her in her relationship with this man because of what he does for a career.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has to make some decisions. My new one I'm really excited about. My new suspense comes out next month, the 25th, I believe, and it's Evidence Uncovered, and it is about a serial killer in New Orleans.
It's y'all. I'm telling y'all. She was telling me about it as she was writing it. Y'all, I'm ready for it myself. Let me tell you, I'm ready for it to be in the movie, like something. Because when I tell you, when she was telling me about, well, both of them, if you've never read any of her books, I'm telling you, go and look Jacequelin Thomas. Y'all are missing out. I'm telling y'all. I rem You would not want to put it. I have not read not one book that I put down on time to get on time to where I need to get to. I mean, it almost broke up a relationship because he said, "What are you doing downstairs?" Reading. I'm reading. I'm reading. Y'all, I'm telling you. So please, 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 go ahead. Tell them about. I'm sorry when you started talking about it because.
No, I'm excited about it. And I want to say too that even with those books, I could not write them before
Hmm.
because of panic disorder. I couldn't have written Her Marine Hero
Yeah.
dealing with panic disorder because I felt it would trigger me.
Hmm.
And so I was able to write about it, wasn't triggered at all. I just understood. And, the editor that actually edited it, which I didn't know, she was a freelance editor. But one of the things when she sent me my notes, she said, "You did an excellent job on panic disorder." She said, "because I suffer from that." And it was very authentic. She didn't know I did too. But she goes, "You researched this very well."
Yeah.
But no, I lived it very
Yeah.
well.
Right.
I lived it. But that felt good because I wanted to be authentic with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So I thank you again for joining us. I thank everybody for joining us for another podcast episode. And as always, I'm praying for you, and we will see you again next week. Thank you, Jackie.